Good morning, Wellspring. My name is Judy Beckman, and I'm a part of your Sunday service team for February 20th, 2022. A lot of twos in that. We have a few announcements. Early birds meet Sunday morning at 9:30 via Zoom. The link is on the weekly email and on the website, and I hear they're having a really good time reading the book, The Power of Now. We have a Joe Dispenza workshop Thursday nights called Rewired. Please tune into this epic series as Dr. Dispenza reveals the secret formulas for rewiring your brain and building coherence with your being so that you can move from thinking to doing to being as a new person in a new future that you have intentionally created. It is Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. in the Burbal Social Hall and on Zoom. Sometimes we have a guided meditation and or discussion, and I have a personal privilege aside here. This series is really stretching and boggling my brain, and so I'm having growth issues with this series. All right, okay, upcoming speakers. Next week, we have Reverend Randy Granger, and then in March, Dr. Edward Burrowbaugh and Reverend Kamatara, and then Dr. Edward Back and Reverend Bam Watkins. Yahoo! What a fun lineup that's going to be. By the way, this is the first time I've had lipstick on in 2 years. The annual meeting was held last Sunday in which we talked about the fiscal state of our spiritual community, and with today's visioning, the board will be given a spiritual direction on where to place our focus. The board officers stayed afterwards for a board meeting. The officers remained the same, and we welcome Erwin Albrecht as our incoming new board member. Today is our visioning service facilitated by our Reverend Kamatara. We encourage in-house visioning beginning at 12:30 as community spirit and interaction are beneficial to this process. We also have a light lunch in between, and it will be on Zoom. And lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may submit your request via our webpage. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider sitting in your quiet space during that time. We know that we are one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. Okay, let's get ready for our invocation. Let's take a deep breath in and release. And as we release, we let the cares of the world, the cares of our life, go out as we exhale. As we inhale, we invite spirit in to come to this divine place, to help us and guide us and manifest the spirit that's within all of us. We rely on the blessed assurance that this is true. I release all this into the cosmos and saying, so it is. Please stand if you're able, and we're going to sing our song of joy. Thank you. Please be seated. It is time for our vision, mission, and affirmation. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. Our affirmation: especially during this month dedicated to love, we affirm and acknowledge that divine love is the source of all love. We know that divine love is constantly expressing through each of us. This love is expressing throughout our community and extends to all who touch Wellspring's path. Our hearts are full of gratitude as we know that this is so, and so it is. And it's now my great pleasure to introduce to you Doug Adams. Welcome back, Doug. That was beautiful, Doug. What was that called?
That's called Two Voices.
Two Voices. He adds so much to our service, doesn't he? Thank you so much. And now our reading. I'm taking it from the textbook, The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, and this is under mental expansion. The subjective state of thought is the creative medium within us, with which fact psychology has proven beyond any question of doubt. Emerson tells us that we are inlets and might become outlets to the divine nature. We are already inlets, but we must consciously become outlets. A great mystic tells us that the upper part of the soul is merged with God and the lower part with time and conditions. Plotinus says that when the soul looks to God alone for its inspiration, its work is done better, even though its back is turned to its work. And Jesus tells us to seek the kingdom of God first, and that all else will be added to us. Now, the image of God is imprinted upon each one of us, and all reflect the divine glory to some degree. Indeed, we are part of the divine glory. When our thoughts is turned from limitation to the greater glory, then we reflect that glory. When the subjective state of our thought receives its image from reality, it in turn reflects this reality into all that we do. Gradually, as this process takes place, the outer one becomes changed, and their concepts become enlarged, so their conditions and physique take on a newness of life. And this change in the outer is brought about by the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God, being the one and only presence in the universe, brings about events and remolds conditions after its own likeness. And so it is. At this time, it's my great pleasure to welcome back our beloved Reverend Kamatara, who I learned has 4 middle names. Go figure. Yes. Welcome back.
Thank you. All right, we're getting all situated here. Thank you for being patient. Whew. Well, it's wonderful as always to see you. I love being at Wellspring, my home away from home, so thank you. And it is the 3rd week in February. So I think it's safe to say that the honeymoon stage of 2022 is well done. It is over. It's dead and buried. Mwah, 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 right? Oh my goodness. And I also know, because of my day job where I teach the relationship cycle, or also in Science of Mind, we know that when we hit disillusionment, such as Miss Judy is right now with the Joe Dispenza, we all cheered because we know what's coming next. Enlightenment, thank you. And so when we think about the relationship cycle, that could happen between people, it could happen between projects, it could happen with a class, it could happen with a church, any project, a job. The relationship cycle is honeymoon. Oh, this is wonderful, I'm so excited, and this is gonna be great, and I can't wait. And like when I was with my students, they thought I was funny and I thought they were smart, and it was great. Everything was beautiful. And then things get tough. The rubber meets the road and we go, oh, that was harder than I thought, and what is this about? And I'm feeling lost, and this is difficult, and what, oh my goodness, ow, disillusionment. And the good news is, if we don't pack up our toys and go home, if we can stick with it and work through it, we know that we get to the next stage of the relationship cycle, which is insight. And when we get that insight, the aha, the light bulb goes on, the epiphany, Oh, now I understand something a little bit deeper. Then we get into the next stage of the relationship cycle, which is working. And that's where the magic happens. That's where, okay, I have recalibrated my understanding and I can go. I am not spinning my wheels in the mud. I'm going. I'm moving the ball down the field and it's awesome. So then guess what? We get back into the honeymoon stage because it's awesome. And then guess what's going to happen next? Oh, disillusionment again, right? Because it's a cycle. And it's the concentric circles of the deepening work that we do here. So, as a religious scientist, I always ask, well, if I know that I'm in disillusionment, which I sure as heck am right now, really am, how do I shift myself? How do I consciously choose, like Miss Judy read today, how do I consciously choose to shift or to welcome insight from the divine? Can I shift from disillusionment to insight by opening up to spirit? And the answer really came to me in a somewhat unlikely place. I got the new Brene Brown book. Ooh, it's very fancy and expensive. But I was really happy to get it. And if you're a bibliophile, you'll really like it. It's gorgeous. It's on beautiful paper and it's artistic and it's very pretty. But beyond the artistry of this very fancy book, the content is amazing. And Coa's has this in stock, by the way. So you can go to the local bookstore, support your local bookstore. Okay, my advertisement is done. So the content of this book, Brene Brown is a social scientist and researcher and teacher with the University of Houston. So if you don't know who she is, her work is very profound. It's about vulnerability, removing shame, finding your courage, being in vulnerability, taking off your armor. It's so in alignment with New Thought. It's amazing work. Okay, so I was reading this book, and what's really interesting about this book, it is called Atlas of the Heart, Mapping Meaningful Connection in the Language of Human Experience. Wow, that's not the best title, but what it really is that from her 20 years of research on emotions, she tried to gather, well, what are different emotions we experience as human beings? And she tried to catalog them so that way she could capture her understanding of when do we experience these emotions and what is it like, and put language to it so we can understand more deeply what's going on in our human experience. And instead of arranging this book as a glossary, like, oh, I'm experiencing fear, and I flip to the F's for fear. No. She arranged it as an atlas, a book of maps. And each chapter is called Places We Go When Blank. And then there's a suite of emotions. It's brilliant. And two of the chapters, absolutely, I have not finished reading it. You can see my bookmark is not very far. But I've already stopped in my tracks because I have to process, because two of the chapters just knocked my socks off. The first chapter was called Places We Go When Things Are Uncertain or Too Much. That totally summarizes my January. Boom, right there. Uncertain or too much. And the emotions associated with that place are stress, overwhelm, anxiety, worry, avoidance, excitement, dread, fear, and vulnerability. Ow! Oh, crunchy. But another chapter in here that caught my attention, it almost was like a call and response, or wound and balm. Another chapter was called Places We Go When It's Beyond Us. And the suite of emotions here are awe, wonder, confusion, curiosity, interest, and surprise. Ooh, I know where I'd like to be. I definitely prefer the second option. So I'm going to ask almost the same question. How do I shift myself from the stress, the overwhelm, the anxiety into the awe, the curiosity, the interest? Well, the answer was actually in the title. It was there all along. It's when I recognize that it's beyond me. Now think about that phrase. When people typically say those three words, I'm going to try to say it real neutral. When people say, it's beyond me, take a moment to just hear that in context inside your head. It's really snarky, isn't it? When people say it's, at least in my experience, like the stupidest thing on earth just happened and someone said, why did that happen? You go, I don't know, it's beyond me. That's how I usually have heard it being said. Usually it's really edgy and not the nicest thing ever. Okay, so as Michael Beckwith would say, let me check myself before I wreck myself. Okay, let me check my attitude. What if let's put that attitude aside. Let's take on a totally different attitude, remembering that I am an expression of the infinite and that this whole existence is a divine and deep mystery, and that it very much could be possible that something might just be beyond me. So taking on the posture of humility and grace, when I'm in a situation, I could really say that in an entirely different way, like, yeah, it's beyond me. And maybe just take a moment to feel that inside your head and your heart and hear yourself saying that, yeah, it's beyond me. It's a totally different inner posture. And that gives me permission to not have all the answers and to stay curious, being open to wonder. Gosh, I wonder what will happen next. Isn't this interesting? It's like I'm watching Netflix and there's only 3 episodes left of the entire series. And I'm like, wow, how are they going to wrap this one up? I don't know. It's beyond me, but this is really interesting. I wonder what will happen next. So instead of locking down in disillusionment, can I open up to insight? Because then I can see more about it, whatever it is in this moment. Am I making it mean something it doesn't? Am I engaging in false or limiting beliefs? Or, as A Course in Miracles always asks us, can I see this another way? And then I can see beyond, over the hill, around the corner, into the deep and mystical. Through time, I can connect with the infinite warehouse of possibilities. So when things are uncertain or too much, I can surrender to the fact that it's beyond me. And that's where insight lives. That's the place I want to go. So how do I surrender? How do I connect to the space beyond me, or to relinquish my own mind to the greater intelligence, to speak wisdom into my heart beyond my small mind engineering? My small mind always wants to engineer things. So if I can surrender that and step into the great beyond, well, I need tools and I need practice. And what I like about science of mind is that there are tools. There's different things we have in our toolkit. In fact, we have not only tools, we have power tools. So I want to go through a couple of those right now. So one tool in science of mind that I'm sure you're all familiar with is affirmations. I can make a declarative sentence that is in the present tense that I know to be true in this moment. So I know that the sale of my house benefits all the parties involved. That's a great affirmation. It's really helpful. It's a great tool. Or when I was working at a particular school, one of my affirmations was, I maintain my integrity regardless of those around me. It was a really important safety feature that I needed every single day. And I had a little post-it note on my clipboard of my roster of my students, and I had an affirmation that every single student is giving their best regardless of what it looks like in this moment. I show up as love. It was a saving grace. So I'm just saying affirmations are a great tool. It's what I know I need in this moment to get me through. But let's turn that into a power tool. Let's shift into affirmative prayer. Oh, yeah. So in Science of Mind, when we talk about affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment, there's the 5 steps. And you may recognize this when someone's praying. You might not, but the first step is recognition, God is. Just that alone, that is a powerful prayer. God is. And I can't even move to the next steps until I know that. So God is. The second step is I am, an expression of that divine, where it's unification, we're connecting the dots. And again, I can't proceed to the next step until I got that. You might, okay, I'll tell you an inner secret. You might hear some people who are praying kind of spinning their wheels in the first step or two because they haven't dropped down and in. And then all of a sudden they're off and you're like, yes, because it takes a minute. And that's okay. Just so you know, that's like a minister's secret. Okay. And then after I've done God is and I am, there's the realization. Okay, I'm going to call forth the thing that I am welcoming into my life, the thing I'm trying to recognize or bring forth. Yeah, because in that space, I can co-create with the divine. And then Thanksgiving, I am so grateful because it's already done. And then I let it go and let it be, and so it is. It's done. Whew, put it down. I mean, that's like rocket fuel for affirmations. So there's a tool and there's a power tool. Let me give you one more example of that. There's visualization, which is a great tool. Like, let's go back to the perfect sale of the house. I am visualizing us all walking into the room where we're going to do the closing. That's so pre-COVID. I'm visualizing us all on Zoom where we're all going to do the closing and everyone's going to be signing and it's going to go perfectly and we're signing it all. I can picture all the signatures and I can picture all the copies. We're forming at the mouth. It's great. And everything's perfect. And I can just see the closure and I can see everyone's bank accounts being full, everyone's hearts being full, it's great. I can visualize it. I am picturing what I want to have happen in this moment. That's great. That's a really powerful tool. But what if we wanted to turn that into a power tool? Then we're going to take the I out of it. We're going to open up to Spirit's vision of this thing, whatever it is. And in Science of Mind, we happen to call that visioning. So there's a difference between visualizing what I think, like what I am going to picture, and visioning, which is what is Spirit's idea for this thing. And again, it's a different posture. It is a power tool. There's really heart-opening questions that get asked in visioning. And they're similar to questions like, what is Spirit's best and highest vision for blank? Whatever that thing is, where we want some guidance. And I've heard questions like, what must I become for this vision to be made manifest? And then we listen and allow the answers to come to us from Spirit. And questions like, what must I release, let go of? What must I embrace? And then there's a really dangerous question at the end. If we're feeling daring, the question is there anything else Spirit would like me to know in this moment? Oh my gosh, it's like carte blanche. Here you go, Spirit. Tell me what I need to know. Sometimes the answers I get, I'm like, nope, try to throw it back like a fish. I'm like, no, I don't want that spirit. But it happened. There's the answers. So the difference between, let's say, affirmations and affirmative prayer or visualization versus visioning is the difference, let's say, between force and power, if you're a Hawkins fan. Like, I'm going to make this happen. Kingdom 2, I will manifest this, which is great. There's a time and place for that. But when you're in your power and it happens because I am aligned with the divine that is the presence and power within, and the answers are here, it's an entirely different work of art. It's just a different way of being. It's the difference between manifest versus surrender and not my will, but thy will be done. And in that space, I can connect with the beyond. And I can gain profound insight and even deepen my faith that the universe really does have my back and that all the answers are really within and that there's something sacred and mystical going on right here. That is real and practical, which I love because it connects all the dots for me. So can I open myself to ask the questions? Can I see this new year, this month, my current experience, this church, you, me, another way? And every time I do that, I expand my spiritual and emotional intelligence. I learn to trust the process, and I'm moving through the cycle, honeymoon, disillusionment, insight, working. It's where the magic happens. And because I know that that's true, if I am experiencing disillusionment, I don't have to be afraid. The universe says, I've got you. Do not be afraid. I am with you. We're going to get through this. Or as I like to say, God is on the job. Got this. So I can know with great confidence that it's beyond me, that all the answers are in the divine should I but have the courage to open up to insight. And this practice helps me to live on the pioneering edge of myself to evolve consciously. So, if you feel like your honeymoon is over and you're feeling disillusioned, just have to take that first step with that one simple phrase. And go ahead and say it with me. It's beyond me. Thank you. Whew, let's take it to prayer, because it's definitely beyond me. And also setting the intention that I know quite a few of our community members have some health concerns right now. We're going to make sure that in the realization step of this prayer, you're going to hear some special blessings for anyone who has some medical procedures and concerns and things that are coming up. All right. And in this moment, in this place, I recognize the presence of the one loving source, the all that is. What I choose to call God, there's something sacred going on that is expressing in all of life as we know it and even beyond what we can understand. I know that this sacred essence is expressing as me, as you, as we, as the one loving heart, the one mind, this great reality in which we find ourselves. And knowing that there is no separation, I speak my word for each person within the sound of my voice, and even beyond. That each person recognizes their divinity within. That the answers are within. That disillusionment isn't the end. that there's a safe space to open up to the divine, to listen with the depth of our being, to allow the guidance of spirit. So I claim for each person clarity, for Wellspring, clarity and satisfaction, and recognizing the richness of what is already here and the richness of what is coming to us individually and as a community. And I also affirm for each person in the Wellspring community and all of our loved ones a deep connection with wholeness, healing, and health. I know that each person who needs care receives perfect care, perfect procedures, perfect surgeries, perfect healing, that everyone in the medical community and all the people who are helping are clear and divinely guided and blessed, and that our bodies know exactly what to do, the medical folks know exactly what to do, and we are healed and feeling replenished, restored. We're healing on a cellular level. And we are feeling the bounty of that healing and rejoicing in how amazing our bodies are and how amazing technology and medicine is and how amazing all the people who help us they are. We are so blessed. And so taking everything that might be in our hearts and our minds and even beyond what we might be able to articulate, I know that all of that is sent out to spirit. And that spirit understands to the depths of our being what we need and desire and yearn for. And those needs, desires, and yearnings are absolutely fulfilled with spirit, with the eternal givingness of the goodness of the universe, because that's how this works. And so I'm grateful to be able to surrender to the beyond. I'm grateful for the clarity that comes to each one of us, and I'm grateful for the healing that's happening even now as we speak. So knowing that all is in divine right order, for how could the divine be anything less? I let it go and let it be, knowing that all is well, and so it is. Amen. Now it's time for more music from Doug.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Sky of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day, dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shake hands, say how do you do, they're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and and I will sing to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shake hands, say how do you do. They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you, Doug. As we acknowledge and receive our virtual and in-person gifts, we give great thanks for the offerings already given and those we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are both part of the one flow. We affirm that we are also part of that flow. We bless these gifts and know that they are multiplied throughout our community. There are a number of folks who've contributed to the production of this service. We are grateful for their service and we thank you for joining us today. And lastly, stay around in Zoomland meeting after the service to visit or join us in the social hall for our light lunch. Please stand with me and read the benediction followed by our congregational peace song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world. And so it is.